Hello, Charlotte.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm good. Is this your first time coming on a podcast?
No, actually, it's my third time. I've
Oh,
been on two other podcasts.
amazing. Oh, what were they? What were those
Yeah.
podcasts?
One was Emetophobia Help with Anna Christie, and another was the Emetophobia podcast.
Oh, amazing. Oh, I've not listened to those. I'll need to listen to those. Um, that was one of my questions to you actually, is if you uh it's kind of hard to I was going to ask you if you've been diagnosed with anything, but I also know that sometimes people aren't necessarily diagnosed from a doctor, but they know that they have a specific type of anxiety. So is there like a way you would categorize your
Yeah.
anxiety? You just said emetophobia was one of them.
Yeah, I've been diagnosed with OCD, generalized anxiety disorder. I think a few other things. I can't really remember because it's been like a few different people have diagnosed me with
Mm-hmm.
things. But the main ones are emetophobia, OCD, anxiety.
And for people that might not know what emetophobia is, would you mind explaining it a little bit?
Yeah, it's like the fear of like vomiting. So like for me, it's myself and others. So it's kind of like everything to do with it. I'm scared of it.
Me too, as you know.
Yeah.
It's also so interesting the amount of people that I've met through being online and stuff that have a combination of emetophobia, OCD, and often agoraphobia in there as well. They suffer with like a mix of
Yeah,
all
I
three.
definitely have a bit of that. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, and do you remember like a time where you first started experiencing all of this anxiety, or was it like just gradually?
Um, So it was kind of like a bit gradual, but I know that I've had it since like I went to like as soon as I like sort of like left the house and went to like nursery as like
Mm.
4-ish. That was when I first started, and I used to like not eat when I was away from the house and stuff, and like um yeah, they used to be like, what's going on there? But
I had no idea that you had suffered for so long with it.
yeah, it's been like a long time. I first went to like CAMS, which is like the NHS like child mental health services when I was like 7.
Mm.
So we were actually looking through like my notes the other day. So yeah,
And is there, I just didn't know, I'd never heard of a child having emetophobia, but it does make sense. Like anyone can struggle with
yeah,
anything at any age. Um, and being four,
yeah,
it must have been harder to explain to people like the reason you're not eating or.
yeah. I think it took a while until we actually figured out what it was because like I spent some time like going to hospital appointments saying like I'm not feeling well and stuff, but um, it took a long time to figure out what it was, and then eventually I think we figured out what it was, and then later on I put like a name to it, and I figured out that
Mm.
emetophobia was a thing. So
I've found that it's easier as an adult now. I'm 26. It's easier to explain to people now, I think, than before. Because before, I think my parents personally just found it really hard to understand. And the same with you, they took me to like hospital and stuff, and they were like, there must be something medically wrong with her. We don't know what it is. But
yeah,
actually, it was mental health rather than physical.
yeah, and because it like manifests so physically, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I got diagnosed with like abdominal migraines and all sorts of things. So
Mm. And yeah, it's funny that it can completely. That's the thing I find toughest. I don't know about you, is the physical stuff. I think I'd be able to kind of cope with just the mental side of it. Can you hear me still?
yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I find the physical stuff much more tricky to deal with. Like, do you have the same kind of physical symptoms every time you experience anxiety?
Yeah, for me it's very like like it's obviously like it's still difficult without the physical symptoms, but it's that I find completely like overwhelming, and the most
Hmm.
difficult to cope with is like the physical sensations like in my body and stuff.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely agree. Is there anything you've tried that has helped you with the emetophobia?
Um, I think for me, sometimes it's more of like a gradual thing than a like this one trick works.
Mm.
But I remember I think I've done exposure in the past, and I think that did help me. Um, but it was like I didn't notice it right away,
Mm.
and then I did notice it, and I kind of go through like spells of being a bit better and a bit worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just I definitely do need to try and put the work in. It's one of these things that like to actually get better. I don't know if it's physically possible to get like completely better, but to actually get better, it takes so much work, and it's like
I know.
daily dedication to doing these tasks. It's so difficult.
It's so difficult, and trying to explain to people that don't have uh, mental health problems like us is like you can't actually understand it's like putting yourself in hell every single day over and over again. And I think there must be a balance somewhere that we also need to just enjoy things and have fun as well as trying to push ourselves, because it's not worth just constantly putting ourselves through this really tough stuff.
Yeah,
But then in the long run it could help, I guess. It's really, really hard.
I know. I think it's like, yeah, trying to dedicate like a chunk of time. I don't know.
Hmm.
But like you've got to be in the right place, and you've got to have the right stuff on. Like you can't be
Hmm.
like busy with like life because it just gets in the way and you can't do things. So
I know. How's your anxiety at the moment, like generally?
it's quite bad at the moment actually. Um
Hmm.
yeah, I tried to up my medication, and I got like a lot of side effects. So um I ended up having to just go back to normal because I just couldn't cope with the
Yeah.
side effects, and I kind of just been left a bit more on edge, like a bit kind of like worse off than when I before I tried to up my medication.
I'm also in the same boat, not from medication, but just my anxiety's been so bad recently. And I don't
Yeah.
really know why, but it just has been. And my friend told me the other day that 6 planets are in retrograde. I don't know how much I believe in that kind of thing, but I'm clinging onto it for dear life and hoping that when they leave retrograde, we're going to be fine.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Another question I was going to ask you is what your relationship's like with mental health and social media, because I know that there's a lot of people that really don't get along with it. Um, but I also know that that's how we met online, was because I make videos about anxiety and you found them, and then we managed to connect in that way.
Yeah. Um, I think like when I first was like looking up emetophobia, I think it was there wasn't as many videos, but it was like oh my god, like other people feel the same as me, um, which was like really like obviously it's not nice that other people feel that way, but it's comforting that
Hmm.
like you're not alone. And then there's obviously I don't know if you know about like the emetophobia Facebook groups.
Oh yeah.
Um, they're they're like a bit of a roller coaster. Like some of the posts are people get into like arguments over things. It's quite funny, but
Yeah.
I find that both like helpful. Um, it's quite like I don't know. It's just a bit of like a strange place, and it's a lot of like reassurance seeking, which
I know.
is obviously we all do it, but I I think it's hard going on to it to try and find like something of value, and then just find all these posts that are like, does this look okay to eat? Am I gonna get ill?
Yes. So there's like Facebook groups about emetophobia where there's actually quite a lot of people, like, subscribe to them. And a lot of it can be like people asking like, oh, my son was sick today, does this mean that I'm going to get sick? Or sometimes it's really helpful stuff like, oh, I tried these vitamins and they've really helped me, or I've tried this ginger drink and it really helped me. So it's like there's a balance, and I have posted on there and said, oh my god, I just ate this chicken wrap, am I going to be okay? And sometimes it's nice for people, like the immediate reassurance is really helpful, but long term it's probably better that we're
Yeah,
like reassuring ourselves.
yeah. And I think for me as well, like I struggle to get reassurance through like that kind of online space because I'm like they're not here,
Mhm.
they don't know like all the details. So I usually ask like my family and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
am I gonna be okay?
How are your family with your emetophobia? Do they understand?
Like they understand, but it's still like very difficult. Just because like it I often like with like sort of the agoraphobia side of things, like I'll be out and about and I'll be like, no, I have to go home,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, is anyone able to come and get me? And it's like just it's quite frustrating, both for me and for them. So and
Yeah.
yeah, kind of like sometimes I'll be sitting, be like, I need someone to sit with me, um, just for 10 minutes, and I need
Mhm.
someone to talk to me,
Mhm.
which it can feel like I don't know if demanding's the right word because like you're in a totally different headspace where you're like not thinking rationally and you're just like I need this now and I just need this to stop and I need to feel better. But like when you leave that headspace, you're like, oh God, like what was I like? I was just like, please come and help me, sort of thing.
Mhm. I totally understand it. You sometimes feel like I think it makes it worse when you compare yourself to other people of your age. Like when I compare myself to other 26-year-olds or whatever, I'm like, oh, why can they all do that and I can't? Um, but
Yeah,
sometimes it's what we need, and it's okay to need that. Like everybody needs help in various different ways.
sorry, my dog's barking
That's
just
totally fine.
because the post. Right, I think he stopped now. Okay, sorry.
No, I totally understand. Like I sometimes feel like a child or something, or younger than I am because I need
Yeah.
certain types of help.
Yeah, definitely. And like I see other people my age that are like going into like third year or fourth year at uni and like they're all like driving themselves about and doing all these like things and going
Hmm.
away like abroad with friends and stuff and I'm just like I can't fathom like how you do that. Like I
No,
just I don't understand.
I am the exact same. And recently I've been looking at people like, why on earth are you not anxious right now? It does blow my mind. I
Yeah.
think, we've been going through this for a long time and it's like it just
Yeah.
becomes so 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 normal that seeing people do things like getting on planes and stuff, I'm like, are you mad? Like,
Yeah.
how can you just be that? That's fine. My friend just went away for 2 months. She's just doing this hike across Spain, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. I can't like comprehend it. It's I don't
No.
know.
That was one of my other questions, though, is that I've seen that you are doing so much art stuff. And for me personally, the only time I feel calm in this world is when I'm doing art. Any kind of art, I feel I just, I can do it forever and just feel calm and happy. And are you studying art just now?
Yeah, I am. So I'm just about to start again in 2 weeks, um, uni, and then yeah. So I'm doing a general foundation, and then I'll specialize,
That
at
is
the end of next
incredible.
at the end.
How do you feel when you're doing art? Does art help you with anxiety?
Definitely yes. But it has to be at a certain level. You know, when you get to that,
Mm.
there's a point with anxiety where just like you're like people are like go and distract yourself, and you're like I literally can't. Like I can't
Yes,
function. Um, but in like the day to day life, it definitely does. Yeah.
agreed. Like there is like the low level or general anxiety, it's fine. Like and art is amazing, and any like loads of
Yeah.
things are amazing for distraction. But there's a line, and when you cross that line, it's like no, all you can kind of do is lie down or just try and breathe and just try and get through it. It's kind of the difference between anxiety and panic,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Definitely. I think like one of the things I do is like woodworking. So it's like 15 minutes from my house, and I have a friend. I go to his house, and like it kind of helps in that sense, so that I'm kind of distracted, and it's like something that I'm doing, because obviously I feel on edge, but I wouldn't go if I was like in full panic. So
Yeah,
yeah.
And it helps to
there.
know that I think sometimes with agoraphobia, you're like so trying to go somewhere that you don't really want to go. But if you know at the end of the car ride it's going to be something you actually enjoy doing, it makes it much easier, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So, my last question was, do you have a story that you can share with us about anxiety?
Yeah. I'm really kind of like struggling with this because like I wanted it to be like a positive story, but I wanted it to be
Oh,
real as well.
no.
So I was gonna
Absolutely.
go um so I think I'll go with like a year ago. I think it was about a year ago. Um I went to Edinburgh with my mum and we decided to stay overnight. We were supposed to have a concert, but like um it was like delayed again, but we'd already booked the hotel, so we're like, right, we'll just go and spend like the day in Edinburgh. And I decided to come off my medication, and I hadn't had any like side effects yet, but I'd been off it for a few days by the time we went into Edinburgh, and it didn't even cross my mind. Well, maybe did briefly, but I was like, no, I'll be fine. And I was like, I must be like out the woods by now. Like, I'll be fine. And so we had the first day, and it was okay. Like, obviously, I was still like on edge just to be in a different city and like a different place, and um, I was okay. And then we ate at like Cosmo, and I was a bit nervous to be eating at Cosmo because it's like buffet
Mm.
style, and I was a bit like, I don't know, this kind of makes me a bit anxious, and um, I was just trying a bit of everything, and then the next day, I remember I couldn't really sleep as well, and I don't know if that was anything to do with it, but the next day I woke up and I was okay-ish. I was feeling a bit on edge and I was feeling a bit like off um, when we went to breakfast, but I was like, do you know what? I'm just gonna eat it because like it's already been
Mm.
paid for. And so then it started to like get more intense as we were like checking out our suitcases, and obviously we didn't really know it was the medication at this point, so we were like, right, we'll just like sit with this for 10 minutes and see how it's going. But it just kind of kept getting worse and worse. And um, my mom was like, right, because we had like a plan that we were going to spend the second day and then get picked up and driven home at the end of the day by my dad. And my mom was like, right, we're not going to be able to do this anymore. So we kind of got the suitcases. And like, as I was like a mess of like tears and just like anxiety, we like walked to the tram. So we had to walk to the tram, and then I had to sit on the tram, and I had like, oh, what did I have? I had like anti-nausea
Mm.
like noise like in my headphones. I was just trying to listen to that. I actually took a video of myself. I don't know why, but like I look back at it, I look like absolutely awful. It's quite.
Mm.
I'm just like, oh my god, like decided to film myself there. Um, so yeah, I listened to that, and then we got off the tram, and we were waiting for my dad, so it took like an hour to get there for my dad, and but we'd already been like half an hour like walking to the tram and then getting on the tram and getting to the park and ride, and um we were like we were just waiting there, and I was just like standing like just like with my eyes closed at the side of the road, just like this is awful, this is like hell. And my mom was trying to just like stand with me and like be like, you're gonna be okay. And it was just like the most intense like nausea and anxiety and
Mm.
like just a whole horrible side effects. And like there was nothing I could do but just like be there because there was nowhere I could go. There's nothing I could do. So um, eventually my dad came. Apparently he'd like lost his keys or something. He ended up being late, and my mum was like, "Where were you?" He was like, because he was like took him a lot longer than it should have taken. Anyway, they put me in the front of the car, and I think I calmed down a little bit being in the car because I was like, right, this is my space. Like I know this space.
Mm-hmm.
and all we've got to do is get home.
Mhm.
And like I was watching the landmarks, and I was like, the closer we were getting, I was like, okay, right, we're getting closer, we're getting closer. And yeah, I was just really upset and like just like so nauseous. And eventually, like I took like all the anti-sickness tablets I could as well, so I wasn't actually ill or anything. But I the next few days were just like absolutely hellish. Like they were just like the worst. And like I felt so ill, and I was just sitting in the bathroom like all night, and it was just like awful. And then I'm trying to think what we did when we got home. Was I just sat on the sofa? I put like a cartoon on, like it's like a little kids TV show, because I was like I can't process anything, and I just sat there for like the next like a few hours until I felt like somewhat okay again. Because I think when I come off the medication, it does kind of go in waves. Like you feel a bit okay, and then you're just like, oh, this is awful. And then I just kind of had to ride it out, and hope that it would be over soon. And then it was over. I was like, thank God. And then I found that actually the medication was helping me. Like I was still anxious on the medication, but I was like, it's not working. Found out that it was helping me, so I ended up going on a different medication, and luckily when I went on that, I had no side effects going on it, so I was quite lucky to do that. But yeah, it was just that. It was just like, you just have to power through this. Like there's nothing else we can do. Just got to just breathe through it, and we'll get out the other side, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was very difficult.
Honestly, hearing that story brought a tear to my eye a little bit because it's just like I've not heard another story that I can relate to so much before. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Just
okay.
like it's so nice to hear stories that are so similar, because I
Yeah.
think all anxiety is completely valid. Of course it is. And some people experience small amounts of anxiety and it's really hard for them. And I totally understand that. But hearing, when you hear, and I guess this is why we're doing this podcast, is when you hear a story, I just felt totally with you. Like I was there at the side of the road with you there. Do you know what I mean? And I just know exactly how that feels.
Yeah.
And it's the most helpless feeling in the world. And I just think how brave of you to get through that. Like it is hell. It honestly does feel like you're in hell, doesn't it? And you did that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, I
just
know.
feels
It was just,
incredible.
yeah, it was pretty, it's hard to describe like how bad it was.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was just like, it was at the point where like you don't even care what people see anymore in
No.
public. You're just like, I don't care what I look like. Like my hair was like all over the place. I was just like tears on my face. I was just
Oh
like
yeah.
shaking, and I was just like, I don't
Oh
care if
no.
y'all on the tram are watching me. I don't care, because I just want to get through this.
You actually, it's almost like you don't even really notice that other people are there, because you're just
Yeah,
so, you feel so horrible that it's like you
yeah,
could not care less that there's anyone else there, or that you're snotting all over them. Like, who cares? All you want to do is just feel a tiny bit better. And my dad once
yeah.
said
I
something
was
to
just
me
like,
that, sorry, what were you saying?
all I was thinking was, I'm gonna get home. I was just gonna get home.
Yes. Excuse me, fly. Yeah, it's honestly just so nice to speak to you, Charlotte, because in our regular lives, we don't often meet people that struggle, because we're quite, I mean, us agoraphobes, we're not exactly the most out there. And emetophobes,
No,
it's unlikely to meet each other in the street a lot of the time. So it's so nice to meet people online that understand. And my dad once said something to me that's really stuck with me. And it's when I first moved to this flat. And it was just like what you described, just so horrible. I was like, I've ruined my life. I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, Emily, every single day is going to get 2% better. And you won't notice the percentage of getting better. Like, you will absolutely not notice. There will be 2% every day get better. And I was like, yeah, okay, dad,
yeah,
whatever. But it was so true. Like, and it's also like nice to know that even when you're not doing anything, you can be getting better too. You don't always have to be putting yourself in the worst extreme situation.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I'm so
Yeah,
glad you got through that.
I know. I've had like a million times like that, to be
Mhm.
honest. It's just that was, I think, because I was not only suffering with that, but like I wasn't in my own home, I wasn't even near my own home, and I was suffering from the effects of the
Mhm.
medication. I've had a few times like that where it's just been like crazy, and I just don't know how I got through it, but I did.
And
Don't
also,
think we really have a choice.
no. But I think the word like panic attack doesn't begin to cover it, does it? Like it's kind of like if you were to
No.
explain to somebody, "Oh, I had a panic attack at the side of the road or on a tram," and they're like, "Oh, that's a shame," but you're like, oh, "I can't even begin to tell you what that actually means."
Yeah,
It's like, it's not just quick breathing. It's not just that you're like breathing too fast or you need to do a breathing technique to calm down. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
hmm.
definitely.
Do you have
I'm
one piece of
curious, like,
advice? Sorry, what were you going to say?
I'm just curious. So, did you say you've moved out yet? Because
Yeah.
that's like,
So,
well, I don't know when, but that's like my goal for one day. I think when I finish uni, maybe in four
mhm,
years. My
mhm.
mom's like, "Are you ever gonna leave?" I'm like, I'm quite happy here. I'm just
If you're happy there, absolutely stay there. Like, there really isn't a right or wrong. I think honestly, after the first couple of months when I moved out by myself, I was like, there's no way I can ever live with anybody ever again in my life. And now I'm living with my boyfriend. So it's like, it does just, and at the beginning, it does feel
yeah,
absolutely horrific and hard. It does, like most things. But honestly, after a while, you're just like, it's not actually, honestly, the biggest thing is it's not that different. And I'm still only 5 minutes
yeah,
away from my parents' house. So I can go there anytime I want to, but I don't really want to, so I don't really go.
yeah. I think I can definitely see that, like, myself. I can see myself getting very comfortable just like being by myself and
Hmm.
having my own way that everything works. And um, yeah, I definitely find it difficult when I go to other people's houses and I watch them like doing things like opening the bin and then just like not washing their hands, or like just like the way they
Yes.
cook food, and I'm like, you're not cutting off all the bad bits enough, and I'm just like, I find it very
Yes.
stressful.
Like
So like obviously
with
I'm
with me and my partner, he doesn't
sorry.
cook.
Uh-huh.
Like
Okay.
I don't. I'd find it really hard if he was to cook me something. Although he has before, and I've managed to eat it, but a lot of the time I am in charge of that, and do you know what I mean? There's just going to be some things that you feel more comfortable doing, and yeah, it'd be great if you could be comfortable enough for somebody else to cook for you. But if you're not, that's fine. Do it your way.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think I'm quite lucky because I still feel comfortable with my parents cooking because like they have my whole life and like they've never made me ill that I'm
Yeah.
aware of. So, um, yeah. So we kind of just share that task. But yeah, I'm definitely more like a bit like pernickety when it comes to cooking. I'm like, no, we're not.
Mhm.
We're cutting that bit off that and like
Mhm.
sort of thing. But yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on, Charlotte. I'm actually going to feel better for the rest of the day now because I've spoken to you. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah. Thank you for having me. It's really nice to like speak to you and yeah, have someone that like I feel like gets it. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's so honestly, the feeling is great. If you would like to share your story of anxiety, I would love to have a chat with you if you're listening. Um, you can send your anonymous story into Anxiety Chats. The information will be in the description, or you can come on and have a chat with me like Charlotte did. It's not as scary as you think it will be. We can have a really lovely chat, a really lovely time together. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.